Alright then, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome everybody to Crypto Space. So in today's video we are going to cover Solana, its recent price action. We are going to cover a couple of interesting charts, and of course I am going to give you my overall thoughts about, short-term price action as well as long-term price action for Solana and what I think it can happen for Solana price wise at the peak of this cycle. So if you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing, and a quick disclaimer that this video is not a financial advice. And now without any further ado, let's hop into Solana itself. So Solana is currently trading at $138.77. Currently Solana is experiencing 2% of leg up, and market cap is currently sitting at 62.6 billion USD, and 24-hour trading volume is currently sitting at 5.5 billion USD. Well, almost 5.6. So we do have that bit of a recovery currently in the market. Unfortunately, Solana isn't eyeing as big, gains on a daily as Near, for example. Near is gaining like 8.4, Pepe even 4.4, Celestia 5.7, etc. GBTC outflows overpower other spot Bitcoin ETF inflows for third consecutive day. So that is not necessarily great if it comes to, Bitcoin ETF inflows. As we can see here, we've got 25.8 million USD of inflows as of yesterday. However, we do have that negativity from Grayscale as well, and we are coming out negative. So that is not necessarily great. However, as you guys probably know, we do have Bitcoin and Ether ETFs approved in Hong Kong. So that's obviously great. That liquidity is going to come. They are, as far as I'm aware, they are not currently trading yet because obviously things have to be set up, etc. However, that liquidity is going to be flowing in sooner or later. So now guys, let's have a look at Solana. So the first things first, this is where you should guys be accumulating Solana in the depths of the bear cycle. So I'm pretty sure if you guys have been accumulating Solana at that time, you're pretty much happy at the moment. And yes, we do experience that pullback at the moment. So nevertheless, as we can see, ever since 1st of October last year, we see that trend, a bullish trend for Solana. So now guys, very important thing, Solana haven't necessarily reached that level of support that is also that trend line that leads us back to the last year. Well, we can argue that it actually, the bottom of the wick of that red candle, reached that level of support now, and now Solana is looking like it's recovering. Obviously BTC is going sideways at the moment, and things are looking, let's say, stable, at least on a daily. However, there is still lots of uncertainty on the market. Obviously that's caused due to recent war, not so great news, etc. And that obviously drives scarcity. People are not necessarily sure of what is going to happen. However, that is just a pullback. And also, there is a time in America right now where people are selling their assets and they're trying to accumulate cash so they can pay those taxes. So guys, I wouldn't necessarily be worried about this pullback. And now I'm pretty sure that if you have took some profits at that time when Solana reached $209, and now let's say you are DCAing in again with profits taken when Solana hit that $200, I'm pretty sure that right now you are happy. So before we are going to continue for Solana and what I think short term for Solana, I would like to cover a BTC, and that way we can pretty much put ourselves into perspective and see what is going on. So the first things first, on a daily, BTC dipped below that bullish pennant model, and obviously we are coming towards the halving date, which is pretty much happening in what, like 2 days or whatever. So obviously there's going to be lots of volatility and uncertainty around that date, slightly post halving as well. And that is the volatility that we do have to be prepared for. Obviously that's also due to liquidations. Lots of leverages were liquidated on that BTC's dip. So now if we are going to look at the liquidation heat map, we can see there is over $1 billion worth of liquidity. And if we are going to look at the second map on a 30-day time frame, we can clearly see that this liquidity is associated with long positions. And as you can see guys here, 100x and 50x are orange and yellow colors, and we can clearly see that people are longing Bitcoin on 50 and 100x leverage, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend. I'm not a trader, just a spot holder, and I don't trade, guys. I would like to just put things into perspective and of course remind that this is not a financial advice. But what I'm trying to get at is that, if market makers are seeing basically these levels of liquidity in the market, I wouldn't be surprised if BTC is going to go slightly lower. So these leverages could be flushed out. So that potentially can happen. And next technical support for BTC could be area of, let's say, 57k. So we could see more pain technically. I'm not saying that this is going to happen, 100%, but based on the technicals, it, could. So now, if we are going to look at Solana, where this possibly could put Solana's price at. So the short-term support, I would say that will be over here, roughly at $98. However, if I'm going to zoom this chart a little bit more, we could argue that the next strong level of support for Solana could be levels of 109 USD. So if BTC is going to see that, further pullback, and reaches these levels of 57, let's say, we could anticipate Solana's, dipping to that area roughly. It is not necessarily said that Solana is going to see such low prices. However, just a few percent for a Bitcoin's dip, causes a massacre for altcoins. So that obviously can pull Solana's price higher. So now, my long-term prediction for Solana. So the first things first, if we are going to look at the TVL on Solana, we are nowhere near the previous all-time highs if it comes to TVL for Solana. And one thing, if I'm going to click on a volume, guys, you can see there is a huge activity on the network of Solana. Last cycle, Solana reached 266, right? Dollars, something around that, and at the moment we have already reached levels of $200. So what I'm trying to get at is that Solana is probably going to see 700-800, possibly even 1k USD price point at the peak of the cycle. But we do have to remember that we should take our profits along the way. So shout out to the scalping pro. And now, guys, let's have a look what happened in the previous bull cycle if it comes to the pullbacks, right? So we already have experienced our first pullback, when we have exited that Wyckoff accumulation. Now we've got the second pullback that we are currently experiencing, and after that, in the previous cycle, BTC, altcoins, saw a huge pump, aka third leg, and then also saw another pullback, guys. So maybe this pullback is not the last pullback. Only because we are in a bull cycle doesn't necessarily mean that we are not going to see the further pullbacks, right? However, the long-term picture for Bitcoin could be around, let's say, 200 to even 300 USD. Is very difficult to say. However, we can clearly see of what is happening. We are basically still right before the halvening, and the real party is going to start, guys. So coming back to Solana, we are in that oversold level, and I'm not saying that right now we are just going to bounce. However, that is also a possibility, and again, this is the volatility that we do have to be prepared for. And now, guys, what could be the next for Solana if we are going to see that bullish reversal for BTC? Because of course that can happen as well, right? That could be the end of this current second pullback. So once BTC is going to reach that level of 74k or perhaps even 80 in, let's say, coming weeks, I would say that Solana can quite quickly jump to price levels of 180 and then 200. So next leg up, guys, please remember to take out your profits out and make sure that you are DCAing in right after the dip. And now another indicator for us that we could determine when we could expect that strong alt cycle is Bitcoin dominant. So if we are going to look at Bitcoin's dominant chart, yes, what you saw on the daily, yes, we saw a Bitcoin dominance shooting. However, at the moment we are basically dipping, and if we are going to zoom things out, we can clearly see that altcoin season is on the way, right? That is a monthly chart, guys, just in case if you wouldn't know. At some point, I believe Bitcoin dominance is going to drop, and then it's going to give a lot of time for alts. And now speaking about alts, guys, so if we are going to look on a monthly, yes, we are dipping. However, if we are going to look at the last cycle, we were dipping when we entered that box over here of only up territory. So the first things first on the monthly, guys, we are still battling with that level of resistance of 1.2 trillion USD for altcoins. So once we are going to smash that, obviously we are still going to have all-time highs. And if we are going to look at longer term picture, we are still early relatively in that cycle, and I wouldn't be necessarily worried too much. And now, guys, we can even look at this from the perspective of RSI. So that chart is monthly, by the way, and I'm reminding that this is excluding BTC and Ethereum. And now if we are going to look at standpoint of RSI and how did it look like when we're in the peak of that cycle, we can clearly see that RSI on a monthly was basically at very high levels of 94, and now we are pretty much at levels of 62. Of course, that doesn't necessarily determine 100% if this is the end of start of the bull cycle. However, this is the rough idea that we can take as an estimate to help us with DCAing in and DCAing out. All right then, ladies and gents, thank you very much for watching that quick Solana update. I hope that you have guys enjoyed it, since it was my first since a long time. And I wish you having a great day or evening. Peace and love, crypto.